I've developed the optimal build order to get to fuel generation on any kind of plot. Okay, T1, T2, T3, T4, all of them, you can use this build order to get there really, really quickly. How long it's going to take you, I can't say for sure. T1 is quite some time, but on a T3 or T4, you can get there in like 2 hours using this method. Okay, 2 to 3 hours very easily. T4 is like half an hour if you really wanted. It's pretty fast. And then once you start generating fuels, you can really slow down, take your time and do it all a bit more properly, since fuels take 17 to 18 hours to produce. And considering you can get so many of the little credit things from clearing the plants, you can actually speed up most things in this build, not just this one, but after fuels, you can actually do pretty well as well. So we're going to go over it. The big one here I'm going to focus on is T1. It differs a little bit, and then I'll go into T2, and T3 and 4 are pretty much the same, but I'm going to cover some of the really interesting and more unique details about individual plots of land. That's really important, so stay tuned. So firstly, on all of the plots, the first thing you want to do is you clear those shrubs, okay? You can do that while you're doing other stuff, but you don't really need to. On T1, you might benefit you to do it while you're harvesting resources already, but just clear them, get all the credits. That's all that matters. That should put you to about 30 to 40 credits somewhere. It is random, so I can't tell you exactly where, but you've got a few goals you claim early on to get another 10. So you're pretty much sitting pretty at about 40 credits for this whole thing, and which is plenty to do what you need to do. Firstly, you build your Nexus and your engineering workshop. For those of you who don't know, with the engineering workshop is basically your cap, and the Nexus caps that. So the Nexus is 2, the engineering workshop can be 2. To upgrade any other building to level 2, you need the engineering workshop to be on 2. So it pretty much covers everything. You'll claim goals and you'll max out your extractors. So in the case of Illuvium Zero on a T1 plot, you have 3 element sites, put extractors on them. But more importantly, you need to balance the extraction and the converters, but you should be able to just max extractors here and then get your Nexus to the next level by claiming goals, and then we can go from there. So just build all 3 extractors on a T1. On a T2, make sure the resources are balanced. T3 and 4, same deal. Next, we get up to Nexus 2, okay? So you want to build the Nexus 2, and then what you want to do is you build your first 3 storages. You should be harvesting and claiming resources as often as you possibly can at this point, and you'll start to be maxing out those storages, so get the first 3 on board. Then you have to get your engineering workshop to level 2, otherwise you can't keep upgrading it. Then what you want to do is you want to get your 3 extractors to level 2. However, you need a balance of resources. If you have, say, 3 carbon extractors, don't get them to level 2 yet. Get 2 converters for the other 2 resources, and then get them to level 2, okay? The other thing you want to consider is 3 storages. You need to get them to level 2 as well. You should really do that after your first 3 extractors, and you build 2 converters to fill out the gaps in your resource generation and go from there. Now, with Nexus 2, with T2 in the second column here, it's pretty much the same thing, except you've got a lot more freedom with your extractors and converters. So just making sure that you're getting an even balance is a lot easier and pretty easy on T3 and 4. I don't know anyone with a T4 that has all the same element. That would be wild. Okay, and here's where it starts to get a little bit more detailed, so bear with me. You get up to Nexus stage 3, okay? The first thing you want to do is you want to double the amount of storages you have and bring them all to level 2. Now, the only things I'm really not speeding up out of all of this is pretty much storages or extractors to level 1 and converters to level 1. From level 2 onwards, I'm basically speeding up everything, especially Nexus, Engineering Workshop, and any converter upgrades, because they take a lot longer. You could maybe not speed up the extractor to level 2, but I still like to do it anyways. After you get your 6 storages and get them all to level 2, then you want to build a total of 9 extractors / converters. Keep them as balanced as you can. Most importantly, okay, this goes for everything especially. Most importantly, have at least 1 converter. It doesn't matter if you're on a T4 and you can do 3 carbon, silicon, and hydrogen, all extractors. Have at least 1 converter for each different material. If you can go for 2, then that's not too bad. Not on T1. On T2, you can go 2 of each converter, but just keep it balanced and have at least 1 converter. That's really crucial. Okay. After that, you want to go to the engineering workshop and get that to level 3 on your Nexus on your Nexus 3. Okay. After you can do that earlier on a T2 and a T3. You can't really do that on a T1. After that, you actually want to get your marketplace, and this will really help you subsidize your imbalance of resources, because that's going to happen. If you, for example, have 3 carbon converters like I have on my T1, and you have 2 silicon harvesters and 1 silicon converter, then you're going to be having more carbon than for the other stuff. And you need to use that marketplace to help balance all that out. The next thing you want to build is 2 power stations. On T1, just get any converter you can above 100% and try and keep them balanced for your resources. On a T2, it's less important. Just try and maximize the amount of percentage points you're getting, really. You also want to be building 3 storages up to level 3 at this point. But you can do the 3 storages first on a T2, but on a T1, you're actually going to want to get your 3 extractors or converters to level 3 first and boost that production, because they just don't fill the storages as like the T2 does, because you're losing resources whenever you're converting. They just don't keep up without those power stations. So that's also why they're prioritized here as well. After that, you want to go for 9, get all your 9 extractors or converters up to level 3. And then we're moving up to Nexus 4, and don't forget, have at least 1 converter of each type. It falls into place right here. We get to Nexus 4, and this is where we can finally get our fuel, but it still takes us a little while, and T1's a bit different from the rest, so I'm actually going to start off with the rest of them. So the T2 onwards, you get the Nexus 4 and the Engineering Workshop 4, okay? After that, you get your 3 storages up to 4, and then you get all the converters you have up to 4. You cannot upgrade harvesters to 4 without fuel, and we're actually going to leave that for Nexus 5. I ran a poll on Twitter. Everyone was in favor of that. I agree. Gonna leave that for Nexus 5. So get your converters up to 4. If you're really struggling with resources, you can maybe swap out one of the harvesters for converters. Should have kind of done that before. I didn't really mention it because it's not super important, but just try and keep those resources balanced, and the marketplace will help you out as well. After that, we need to get our quantum fabricate. Now, this building is kind of like the engineering workshop, except for any fuel related building. So to get a fuel site level 1, you need a quantum fabricate level 1. Fuel site 2, quantum 2. You get the picture. After that, you want to get all 6 storages up to 4. This is just the element storages. We're not building any fuel storages yet. And then you need to get the quantum fabricant to 2. And I'm going to tell you why. This is one that tripped me up, okay? You cannot build fuel converters until you've got a quantum fabricant level 2. And why does this suck? Because if you don't have Krypton on your land, you can't get your Nexus to 5. Therefore, you need the quantum fabricant 2 to get a converter to get Krypton. If you don't have Krypton on your land, so that's why you've got to do that, and it costs a whopping 120k carbon to get that to get that quantum fabricant to 2. So prioritizing carbon a little bit during Nexus 4 is quite powerful. So don't miss that up. The next thing you want to do is get 3 fuel harvesters / converters. So just get the 3, balance them as best you can. A T2 plot will come with 3 fuel sites, but you probably won't have the diverse range. If you do, a big help. Trust me, I had one on one of my plots. It's fantastic. The next thing you want to do, and this is where it starts to differ again, get 3 power stations to 114%. All right, 114%. On that number, your 1 fuel production from a fuel site actually goes to 2 fuel production for the same cost. On a T3, 126% does the same thing. And on a T4, 138% moves it from something like 4 to 6. Okay, so don't sleep on this. Get the power stations you need, 3 of them, and get your fuel sites or converters to the right spot. You might not be able to get them all to that spot, so just prioritize whatever you think is going to work best. Next thing you want to do is harvest fuel. Then you get your 3 fuel storages. You don't really have to. You can get more fuel sites or more harvesters and converters. But I like just getting the fuel storages now, and then do your second round of fuel harvesting as you go into Nexus 5. And that's where I'm going to leave you for the T2, 3, and 4. But now we're going to quickly talk about the T1. So this differs a little bit. So you get the Nexus 4 and the Engineering Workshop, as like before. The 3 storages to 4, you normally have to upgrade the storages first on a T1 plot. Then you've got to get all your converters to 4. Now you'll have quite a few of them. On a T2, you might have 3 converters. On a T3, probably 3 converters. On a T1, you've got 6 converters, maybe 7, depending on how you've played it. So you've got to get them all to level 4 because you just don't generate enough, okay? The other thing is those power plants we got in the Nexus 3 stage, really make sure you're maximizing the amount of output percentage that they're giving to these things. It's going to be really hard. Every plot's different, but just get those converters up ASAP. Next, you want to get your Quantum Fabricant 1. Like before, we're prioritizing carbon a little bit for that Quantum Fabricant 2. And then you're getting 7 storages, okay? I cannot stress this enough. 2 maxed out storages on a T1 plot cannot hold enough for a Quantum Fabricant 2. So you need to get 1 extra storage, okay? Once you do that, you can get your Quantum Fabricant 2. You can even get rid of that storage afterwards if you want to. You don't really need to. Because I've actually, on the Nexus, on the T1 plot, I've actually foregone getting the fuel storages because getting that Quantum Fabricant 2 and converters and everything up is more important. You can always do fuel storages next time. After you do that, you get your harvesters, converters, get 5 more power stations instead of those fuel storages. You could really do that on a T2 as well. Probably don't need to on a 3 or a 4. Instead of the fuel storages, and get those power stations. Make sure everything is above 100%, or all the converters at least, because again, they're just losing resources unless you do that. They're a liability. They're necessary, but they're a liability. And then you'll do your second fuel harvest and you'll jump into Nexus 5. So I hope this helped you guys, especially the beginners who are just coming in new to Illuvium Zero. I hope this finds you and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you have a different strategy to mine.